There comes a time in your journey where you must understand that not everyone who walks with you is meant to stay with you. Some people come only for a season, and if you try to hold on to them longer than that season, you will end up broken, drained, and confused. God has a way of pulling back the curtain and showing you who is real and who is counterfeit. There comes a moment in life when you must face the hard truth that not everyone who begins with you is destined to finish with you. Some people were only assigned to your life for a chapter, not the whole book. But the problem is we get so attached, so invested, that we confuse temporary companionship with permanent covenant. And when God begins to shift the atmosphere, when he starts pulling certain people out of your circle, it feels like rejection, it feels like betrayal, it feels like loss. But in reality, it is divine protection. You see, there are people who are meant to introduce you to a season, but they are not meant to walk with you into your destiny. They may clap when you rise, but they cannot handle the weight of your calling. They may celebrate your potential time, but they cannot endure the pressure that comes with your purpose. And because of that, God has to intervene. He has to create circumstances that separate you from what you're trying so hard to hold on to. The danger is that we often romanticize relationships. We tell ourselves, we've been friends for so long, they have to be real. But longevity doesn't always mean loyalty. Some people can walk with you for years, share your table, enjoy your blessings, and still not be genuine. The length of time they've been around you doesn't prove the depth of their heart toward you. And if you're not careful, you'll misinterpret familiarity as faithfulness. That's why when God begins to reveal who's real and who's fake, you have to have the courage to accept it. Don't fight the pruning process. Don't chase after what God is cutting away. When someone exits your life, it doesn't always mean you did something wrong. Sometimes it means you did something right, you grew, you shifted, you leveled up. And when you leveled up, the people who were pretending could no longer hide. Understand this, God is intentional. He will never allow fake people to remain attached to you when their presence can poison your purpose. That's why you may notice certain relationships suddenly feel uncomfortable. Certain conversations start to sound different. Certain behaviors that were once hidden begin to surface. That's not coincidence, that's revelation. God is showing you their true identity. And though it hurts, though it may leave you lonely for a season, it is the mercy of God exposing what you couldn't see for yourself. Because here's the truth. When you are headed toward destiny, you cannot afford dead weight. You cannot carry counterfeit friendships into a genuine future. You cannot expect to walk in divine purpose while holding hands with people who secretly despise your progress. God loves you too much to let you be sabotaged by fake support. So instead of mourning who left, start thanking God for the revelation. Instead of begging people to stay, start praising God for making room for the right ones to come. The truth is, if they were meant to be connected to your destiny, they wouldn't have left. If they were ordained to walk with you, nothing could have pulled them away. Let their departure be confirmation that their assignment in your life is complete. Don't curse the loss. Bless it. Don't resent the exposure. Embrace it. Because the pruning always precedes the harvest. When God removes what is fake, he is making space for what is real. And when you finally step into the fullness of what he has prepared for you, you'll look back and thank him for every goodbye, every departure, and every revelation that made room for your destiny. It is in the furnace of adversity that the true nature of people around you is revealed. Anyone can walk with you when the sun is shining and the road is smooth, but the real test of loyalty comes when the storms roll in, when the winds howl, and when life knocks you flat on your face. That's when you start to notice who was genuinely for you and who was only in it for what they could get. Tough times will strip away the performance, the masks, the rehearsed words, and expose the condition of a person's heart. When everything is going right, it is easy for people to smile at you, to clap for you, to cheer you on. But let something shift. Let you go through a valley. Let you face a setback. Let your back hit the wall, and suddenly the applause gets quieter. The ones who claim to always be there somehow don't answer the phone anymore. The ones who said, "I got you," suddenly have excuses. It hurts, but it's necessary, because God is showing you who was truly connected to you and who was only connected to your benefits. You see, pressure has a way of revealing what people are really made of. When the weight gets heavy, Some will run because they can't carry it with you. And you must stop taking it personally when they leave. Their departure doesn't mean you weren't valuable. It means they weren't assigned. Because the ones who are truly connected to your purpose will not just celebrate you on the mountain, they will cry with you in the valley. They will hold your arms up when you are too tired to fight. They will intercede when you can't find the words to pray. They won't just love your crown. They will stand with you under your cross. God allows these seasons of testing not just to develop you, but to reveal them. That's why some relationships that look so solid in easy times suddenly crumble under pressure. Time. That's why people who once smiled at you suddenly start talking against you when trouble comes. It isn't because the storm created disloyalty. It's because the storm exposed disloyalty that was already there. The trial did not break them, it revealed them. So instead of being discouraged when people leave during your hardships, learn to see it as revelation. That moment of abandonment is God's way of cleansing your circle. Because the truth is, not everyone is worthy of the backstage pass to your life. Not everyone deserves to see you in your vulnerable moments. And God will not allow your destiny to be contaminated by fake support. Yes, it hurts when they walk away. Yes, it's painful when people you trusted turn their backs. But don't cry too long. Don't spend your nights trying to figure out why. Understand that tough times are filters. They separate the pure from the polluted, the genuine from the counterfeit. Every storm is both a trial and a teacher. And when the rain clears, you'll know exactly who is meant to walk with you into the future. So hold your head up in the storm. Wipe your tears and remember that every person who stayed by your side when the winds were raging is a treasure. They are the ones sent by God to journey with you. And for every person who disappeared, thank God for revealing their true heart before they could sabotage your destiny. Because storms don't just test your strength, they test your circle. And sometimes the greatest blessing is not that you survived the storm, but that you discovered who was truly standing with you when it came. There are moments in life when people walk out and you feel the sting of rejection cut deep into your heart. The questions rise, the pain lingers, and the loneliness settles in. But what if I told you that what feels like rejection is often God's protection? What if the doors that closed, the friendships that ended, and the relationships that fell apart weren't meant to destroy you, but to shield you from a greater harm you couldn't see? We don't always understand it in the moment because rejection hurts. It feels like abandonment. It feels like failure. We ask ourselves, why did they leave? Why did they betray me? Why did they turn against me? But sometimes the answer isn't found in them. It's found in God's divine plan. Because He knows things you don't know. He sees things you can't see. And He hears conversations you were never meant to hear. And in His wisdom, He allows certain people to walk away because their presence would poison your purpose. There are people who look like they are for you, but deep down, they are waiting for your downfall. They smile in your face, but secretly resent your progress. They applaud your victories in public, but question your worth in private. And if God let them stay in your life unchecked, they would sabotage your destiny when you need it most. That is why rejection is not always loss. It's strategy. It is God's way of redirecting your steps and preserving your future. Think about it. If everyone who ever said they loved you had stayed, you would be surrounded by cluttered voices, divided loyalties, and compromised support. Some of the people who left could not handle the weight of where you're going. They were fine with you as long as you stayed at their level. But the moment God began to elevate you, their insecurity surfaced. And instead of celebrating your growth, they chose to exit your life. That departure may have broken your heart, but it saved your destiny. We often think we need people to validate us, to support us, to walk with us. But what God is teaching you in seasons of rejection is that you don't need validation from man when you have His approval. You don't need everyone to stay when you have the one who never leaves. And you don't need counterfeit love when God is preparing to send you something genuine. So the next time someone rejects you, don't fall apart. Don't beg them to stay. Don't chase what God has released. Lift your hands and say, thank you, Lord, for protecting me from what I couldn't see. Because that closed door is not the end. It's a redirection. That betrayal is not your breaking, it's your building. That rejection is not your destruction, it's your protection. And here's the beauty of it. After the sting fades and the dust settles, you will see why it had to happen. You will look back and realize that losing them was the best thing that could have ever happened, because their absence created space for God's presence. Their exit opened the door for the right people to walk in. Their rejection was the very thing that pushed you into the arms of your destiny. So stop mourning who left and start praising God for who's coming. Stop crying over doors that shut and start rejoicing for the ones about to open. Every rejection is a sign that you are being protected, redirected, and positioned for something greater. And when God gets finished, you'll understand that it wasn't rejection at all. It was rescue. Pressure has a way of uncovering what smooth seasons will never show. When life is easy, when resources are plentiful, when the path is clear, anybody can pretend, they can smile, they can clap, they can say all the right words. But the moment pressure comes, when trials heat up, when disappointments stack, when the unexpected knocks at the door, pretending becomes impossible. Pressure forces masks to fall, and it reveals the motives that people thought they could hide forever. You see, pressure is not just about testing you. It is about exposing them. God uses the weight of hardship not only to develop your strength, but to reveal who is really standing with you. Loyalty sounds good in comfort, but it proves itself in crisis. Commitment looks convincing in convenience, but its truth shows up in conflict. That's why when the heat rises, some people who once looked unshakable start to crack. They cannot withstand what they claimed they could handle. Think about it. Diamonds are only formed under intense pressure. Gold is refined in fire. In the same way, relationships are tested and revealed in hardship. It is in those pressure-filled moments that you learn who genuinely loves you and who only love what you could do for them. You find out who's praying for you and who's gossiping about you. You discover who's lifting you up and who's waiting for you to fall. And while it may hurt to see, it is also liberating, because once God shows you the truth, you are no longer bound by illusions. Some people's loyalty is loud until it costs them something. They'll support you until standing with you risks their own comfort. They'll walk with you until the road gets rough. But pressure has a way of pushing the truth to the surface. And when it does, don't ignore it. Don't excuse it. Don't try to justify their actions. Believe what God is showing you. Because the worst thing you can do is keep pretending someone is loyal when God has already revealed their betrayal. But here's the good news. Pressure doesn't just reveal the fake, it also confirms the real. There are people in your life who will not buckle under the weight. When storms come, they don't leave, they lean in. When trials rise, they don't scatter, they stand closer. These are the people who prove their love not with words, but with presence. And the only way you can discover them is by walking through pressure-filled seasons. Without the storm, you wouldn't know who the anchors are. Without the fire, you wouldn't know who can withstand the heat. So don't despise the pressure. It is doing two things at once. It is shaping you and it is revealing them. It is exposing the fakes and highlighting the faithful. It is showing you who can walk into your future and who needs to remain in your past. Yes, it hurts to watch masks fall. Yes, it stings to realize that some people weren't who you thought they were. But better to know the truth now than to carry betrayal into the next season of your destiny. Embrace the exposure. Trust what the pressure reveals. Thank God for every person who couldn't survive the heat, because their departure is a sign they were never meant to handle the weight of your calling. And then thank God even more for those who endured the storm, stood the test, and proved themselves genuine. Because pressure will always separate the counterfeit from the authentic. And in the end, it will leave you surrounded not by pretenders, but by people who are truly aligned with your purpose. One of the most powerful ways God reveals the intentions of those around you is through the fruit they bear. A tree does not lie about what kind of tree it is. You don't have to argue with it, question it, or wonder. An apple tree is going to produce apples. A fig tree is going to produce figs, and a thorn bush cannot give you grapes no matter how much you wish it would. In the same way, people cannot hide their fruit forever. They might present themselves as loving, but if bitterness fills their heart, eventually it will come out. They might speak in flattering tones, but if envy and jealousy are in their spirit, eventually you'll see it in their actions. God will allow enough time and space for fruit to grow, so you don't just fall for the appearance of the leaves. So often, We get deceived because we mistake leaves for fruit. Some people look the part. They dress right, they talk right, they know how to blend in. But leaves are only surface, level appearances. It is fruit that proves the root. That's why you can't just look at how someone shines on the outside. You've got to pay attention to the consistency of their character. Watch how they treat people who can't benefit them. Watch how they handle adversity when it doesn't go their way. Watch if their words line up with their actions. Because fruit always tells the truth. God uses time as a tool of revelation. At first, fruit takes a while to grow. That's why sometimes you can't immediately discern someone's intentions. They may look like they belong in your life, but over time their fruit exposes them. That's why patience is critical. If you're too quick to let someone into the deep places of your heart, you may discover later that their fruit was rotten. But if you give it time, God will always let the truth show. And when it does, you have a choice to make. Either hold on to someone who has proven they're not aligned with you, or release them so you can make room for what God has prepared. Fruit doesn't just expose the fake, it also confirms the faithful. Because while some people bear envy, gossip, and disloyalty, others bear love, peace, and patience. There are people whose fruit is so consistent that you don't have to second guess their loyalty. They don't just talk about standing with you, they prove it through their actions again and again. And God uses these seasons of exposure to show you who is truly bearing good fruit in your life. These are the ones you can build, grow with, and trust in the storms. What's dangerous is when we ignore the fruit, because we don't want to deal with the truth. Sometimes we love the idea of a relationship more than the reality of it. We keep excusing bad behavior. We keep overlooking consistent patterns because we don't want to face the pain of letting go. But ignoring rotten fruit doesn't make it fresh. It just keeps you bound to something that was never meant to nourish you. And as long as you're holding on to what is draining you, you can't embrace the blessing God has prepared for you. So examine the fruit. Don't just listen to what people say, watch what they produce. Do they bring peace or confusion? Do they sow encouragement or division? Do they lift you up or secretly tear you down? Because the evidence is in the fruit. And when God reveals it, don't argue with it. Don't deny it. Don't excuse it, accept it. The fruit never lies. When you align yourself with those who bear good fruit, you will find your life flourishing in ways you never imagined. But when you release those who continually bring rotten fruit, you free yourself from cycles of disappointment and betrayal. Trust the fruit test. It is God's way of protecting your purpose, your peace, and your destiny. One of the greatest ways God protects you is by giving you discernment, that inner knowing that doesn't come from logic alone, but from the Spirit whispering in your heart. Discernment is that still, small voice that says, something is off, even when everything on the surface looks fine. It is that inner stirring that alerts you when someone's words don't match their intentions, when their smile hides a motive, when their presence carries a weight instead of peace. God doesn't want you walking blind into relationships or partnerships that will drain you. So he equips you with discernment to separate the real from the counterfeit. The challenge is too many of us ignore that voice. We talk ourselves out of it. We say, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm being too judgmental. But discernment isn't judgment. It's protection. It's not about condemning someone. It's about recognizing what spirit they carry. And every time you ignore it, you put yourself at risk of aligning with people who were never meant to walk with you. God has given you a radar for a reason. When that radar starts beeping, don't silence it, lean into it. Discernment is sharpened through prayer. You can't always see people for who they are in the natural, but when you bring them before God, he shines a light on their true intentions. That's why you don't make major decisions, enter new seasons, or connect with new people without first laying them before God in prayer. Because in prayer, God exposes. He'll give you dreams. He'll send you confirmation. He'll highlight something in their words or actions that you would have otherwise overlooked. He'll align circumstances in such a way that you can't ignore the truth. Discernment flows strongest when you stay connected to the source. God also uses peace as a signal. When someone belongs in your life, there is a sense of alignment, a flow, a calm assurance. But when someone doesn't, you'll feel a restlessness, a heaviness, a disquiet in your spirit. You may not even be able to explain why, time. But the absence of peace is God's way of warning you. That's why peace is more powerful than logic. Logic can be manipulated, appearances can be deceiving, but peace, or the lack of it, always tells the truth. Trust the peace test. Discernment also works through patterns. Anyone can fake goodness for a moment, but consistency reveals character. Pay attention to how people act over time. Do they lift you up when no one is watching? Or do they shift when the spotlight is off? Do they only show up when they need something? Or are they steady even when you have nothing to offer? Time is the canvas on which true character paints itself, and discernment enables you to see the patterns and not ignore the warnings. Some of the greatest heartbreaks in life could have been avoided if we had trusted our discernment. We wouldn't have fallen into certain traps, wasted years in certain relationships, or endured unnecessary pain had we simply listened to that inner check. But here's the good news. It's never too late to start trusting what God places in your spirit. The more you practice it, the sharper it becomes. The more you obey it, the louder it grows. Discernment is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So when God reveals fake people through discernment, don't doubt it. Don't dismiss it. Don't keep trying to make them into what they've already proven they're not. Instead, thank God for the warning. Because every time He reveals, it's an act of mercy. He's not trying to take something good away from you. He's protecting you from what could destroy you. Trust the discernment He's given you, because it will keep you safe, it will keep you aligned, and it will keep you moving toward the destiny He has prepared for your life.